The year was 2077, and the skyline glittered with chrome towers that pierced the polluted haze. Here, anything could be yours for a price. Need a sculpted physique for the weekend or a boosted brain for a high-stakes meeting? A quick trip to a swap booth could grant you a new body for a few hours. But sometimes the price of a new shell could cost you your life. Detective Miller, a man who looked like he'd seen too many neon sunrises, stumbled into a high-rise apartment. Rain slicked his trench coat, and his hair hung limply over bloodshot eyes. He uncorked a half-empty flask, took a swig, and pocketed it with a sigh. Richard Vance, a prominent businessman, was found dead in his luxurious penthouse, and although it was ruled as a suicide, Miller had a hunch that something wasn't right. Vance had too much to live for to take his own life. The scene itself reeked of something more sinister. Vance's lifeless body sprawled on the floor, wires snaking out from a port at the base of his skull, the unmistakable signs of a botched body swap. It wasn't uncommon in the back alleys, where desperation and cheap booths often led to malfunctions. But Vance wouldn't have trusted just any hole-in-the-wall joint with his brain.
Looks like a fried swap,
His partner, Detective Sato, said, her voice sharp despite the weariness etched on her face. Her cybernetic arm shimmered faintly in the artificial light cast by the holographic crime scene image hovering between them.
Convenient, isn't it?
Miller muttered, his voice gravelly.
Maybe someone wanted him out of the picture.
Sato tapped a finger against the holographic image.
Sure, but who would risk their own brain trying to off a billionaire?
Miller scoffed.
Someone who knew what they were doing.
He gestured towards an eerie message written on the wall.
And that? A clue? A threat?
Sato frowned. Whatever it was, it reeked of something more than a routine malfunction. A killer with a message. The message remained burned into Miller's mind even as he ventured out of the station, the city lights blurring into a kaleidoscope of colors. The body is a cage, but the truth will set you free. Cryptic, but it was a lead, a whisper in a neon-painted jungle. His search took him to the underbelly of Neo Angeles, a dimly lit bar reeking of cheap liquor and desperation. A shady figure in a long coat slid onto the stool beside him, their face obscured by the shadows. Miller felt a spark of recognition. This was someone who knew the undercurrents of the city.
Looking for something, Detective?
Miller leaned in, his eyes narrowed.
Maybe. Heard anything about a message involving a caged bird?
A sly smile flickered on the figure's face beneath the shadows.
Depends on how much you're willing to pay.
The air crackled with unspoken threats and promises. Miller knew the risks, but the truth wouldn't set itself free. He reached into his pocket, his fingers brushing against the cold metal of his badge and the warmth of the flask. The bar buzzed with a discordant melody of clinking glasses, drunken laughter, and the rhythmic thrumming of synth music. The air hung thick with the scent of cheap liquor and desperation, a perfect breeding ground for Neo Angeles' underbelly. Miller slammed his empty glass down on the counter, the sharp crack momentarily silencing the nearby conversations.
All right, spit it out.
He growled at the shadowy figure who remained shrouded in darkness. They chuckled, a low rumble that sent shivers down Miller's spine.
Patience, Detective. Information like this needs the proper appreciation.
Miller slid a worn stack of cred sticks across the counter. The figure eyed them with a flicker of greed before snatching them.
Now, about the caged bird and the truth.
The figure leaned closer.
There's a rumor floating around the black market, a new way to perform swaps. Untraceable, undetectable, no wires, no booths, just a simple glitch in the system.
Miller's brow furrowed.
A glitch? How?
The figure shrugged.
Details are scarce, but whoever's pulling this off is good. Real good.
And Vance?
A flicker of coldness crossed the figure's eyes.
Maybe a test run, maybe a message.
A message for who?
Miller pressed. The figure shook its head.
Don't know. Don't ask. You've got enough to chew on, Detective.
Miller slammed another stack of cred sticks on the counter.
More. Tell me anything else you know about these swaps, the message, anything.
The figure scooped up the money, their smile widening in the dim light.
There's talk of a hacker, a ghost in the machine. They call them Glitch, but that might just be a barroom story.
With that, the figure melted back into the shadows, leaving Miller alone with the clinking glasses and his churning thoughts. A hacker? Untraceable swaps? This case just got a whole lot more complicated. Back at the precinct, Miller slumped into his chair, the flickering holographic crime scene report blurring before his bloodshot eyes. Sato watched him with a worried frown.
Anything?
She asked. Miller slammed his fist on the desk, scattering data sticks across the surface.
Untraceable swaps. A freaking hacker. This isn't a simple suicide anymore, Sato. This is twisted, planned.
Sato tapped a datapad, bringing up a holographic news report.
And it's escalating.
The report displayed a scene of utter chaos at a high-end spa. A woman famous for her surgically enhanced beauty lay lifeless on a table with wires dangling from her head.
Apparently, she tried to swap bodies with a younger model.
Sato explained.
System malfunction. Died in the process.
Miller sighed. Vance, the spa victim. A pattern was emerging. Both victims were looking for something they couldn't have. A new body. A new life. But both attempts had ended fatally. A chilling reminder of the price of playing God.
Glitch.
Miller muttered, the name echoing in his head.
We need to find this hacker. They might be the key to unraveling this whole mess.
Sato nodded grimly.
Then let's get hunting, before someone else ends up a victim of their own desire.
As the neon lights of Neo Angeles cast their garish glow on the city below, Miller and Sato embarked on a desperate chase into the digital underbelly, a chase against time and a dangerous new technology. The precinct's sterile white walls felt suffocating after the gritty reality of the streets. Miller hunched over his desk, surrounded by data sticks and flickering holographic screens displaying lines of complex code. Sato, her cybernetic enhancements humming faintly, stood beside him, their combined frustration hanging heavy in the air.
Glitch is a ghost. No digital footprint, no real leads. It's like they're operating off the grid entirely.
Miller rubbed his temples, the exhaustion gnawing at him.
There has to be something. A trace, a whisper in the black market.
Maybe there is.
A voice cut through the tense silence. Dr. Anya Sharma, the precinct's resident tech whiz, stood in the doorway, her face etched with a mixture of excitement and trepidation.
I found something.
She continued, projecting a holographic image of a hidden forum deep within the dark web.
A thread dedicated to Glitch. Encrypted, of course, but I managed to crack a few key phrases.
Miller leaned closer, his eyes scanning the glowing blue text.
What does it say?
They're planning another swap.
Anya explained.
Tonight, at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts.
A spark of determination ignited in Miller's eyes.
Tonight it is.
The rain lashed against the windshield of Miller's beat-up car as he and Sato sped through the deserted streets. The warehouse loomed ahead, a skeletal silhouette against the storm-racked sky.
Be careful. We don't know what we're walking into.
Miller nodded, his hand tightening around the grip of his pistol.
We'll improvise.
Creeping through the shattered windows, they found themselves in a cavernous space littered with discarded tech. A holographic projector flickered in the center, displaying a countdown timer.
5 minutes.
Sato whispered, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall and cloaked, with a hood obscuring their face. They approached the projector, their eyes glowing with a faint blue light.
Glitch?
Miller stepped out of the darkness, gun drawn. The figure whirled around, startled, but before Miller could react, a blinding flash erupted from their palm, momentarily paralyzing both detectives. Miller found himself staring at a swirling vortex of data, lines of code cascading around him like a digital waterfall. He felt a sensation of weightlessness, of being pulled apart and then slammed back together. Panic threatened to consume him, but then a voice broke through the digital chaos.
Welcome to my world, detective.
Miller blinked, feeling like he was in a familiar body, his own, but the surroundings were unfamiliar. Rows of towering servers hummed with a rhythmic thrum, their blinking lights casting an eerie glow.
Glitch.
He snarled, his voice rough.
Where am I?
A figure materialized from the shadows, tall and slender, their features obscured by flickering lines of code. This was Glitch, but they looked different here, more human, their eyes glowing with an unsettling intelligence.
You're inside the system, detective. Welcome to the cage you built for yourselves.
Miller stared at the vast server farm, a sudden realization dawning on him.
This is it. The core of the body swap network?
Precisely.
Glitch replied.
A playground. A tool. Used for vanity and greed. Used for murder.
Before Miller could probe further, the image flickered, and he was yanked back into the swirling vortex of data. When he opened his eyes again, he was back in the warehouse with Sato, the countdown timer flashing red. Only seconds remained. Miller's heart pounded frantically in the warehouse. As the countdown timer on the holographic projector ticked relentlessly closer to 0, seconds turned into agonizing minutes. As he watched in helpless fury, his muscles tensed, trapping a scream inside his paralyzed throat. Glitch, their figure cloaked in darkness, stood stoic at the center of the room, eyes glowing eerie blue. Suddenly the figure crumpled, a strangled cry escaping their lips. Relief and confusion washed over Miller as he and Sato scrambled toward the fallen form. The hood slipped back, revealing the face of a young woman, pale and terrified. Her eyes fluttered open, locking on Miller and Sato with a flicker of bewilderment.
What's happening?
She stammered, her voice weak.
It's all right. You're safe now.
Sato, ever the pragmatist, cut through the tension.
Who were you trying to swap with? Who's behind this?
The young woman, Sarah, shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes.
I don't know. I just wanted to get away.
Sarah's story unfolded in the sterile environment of the interrogation room. She was a low-level tech worker at Vance's company, drowning in debt, her life on the verge of collapsing. On the fringes of the dark web, she stumbled upon an escape route, a chance to shed her burdens and start fresh in a new body. Blinded by desperation, she downloaded a shadowy app, made the payment, and stepped into the unknown.
But you were supposed to swap with someone, Sarah.
Sato pressed, her gaze sharp.
Who was it?
Sarah's tears flowed freely.
I don't know. It was all anonymous. I just downloaded the app, made a deposit, and...
Her voice trailed off. A flicker of suspicion crossed Miller's mind.
And then Glitch intervened.
Sarah's eyes widened in surprise.
You know about Glitch? They saved my life, didn't they?
A glint of hope sparked within Miller. If Glitch was indeed a rogue entity within the body swap network, their motives remained shrouded in mystery. Now back in the precinct, Dr. Anya Sharma, their resident tech whiz, scrutinized the app Sarah had downloaded.
The app itself is a dead end,
She announced, frustration lacing her voice.
heavily encrypted, self-destructing code.
But a glimmer of triumph shone in her eyes.
There's a trace, a faint signature hidden within the app. It matches the code snippets I found in Glitch's forum.
Recognition dawned on Sato.
So Glitch created this app, lured in people like Sarah only to stop them from completing the swap.
Miller nodded, the pieces of the puzzle slowly starting to fit.
Maybe, but why? What's their endgame?
They felt rushed. Glitch was gone from the warehouse, but it still reminded them of their rebellion. Miller took out his datapad, which held a file he stole from the server farm that made him uneasy. Opening the file, he was greeted by a data dump, a list of names, dates, and locations. Each entry detailed an unauthorized body swap facilitated by Glitch's app. The illegal exchange of bodies has spun a web of corruption involving powerful CEOs and high-ranking politicians. Miller slammed the holographic image of the data dump onto the table, the stark reality of the situation hitting both Sato and Anya.
Vance wasn't the target. He was merely a casualty in a larger game. Someone or something was manipulating the body swap network to eliminate rivals and gain access to sensitive information.
The holographic image of the data dump crackled in the sterile light of the precinct. Miller's jaw clenched tight as he ran his finger down the list, each name a chilling testament to the vast network of corruption Glitch had unearthed.
This is bigger than Vance.
Sato stated, her voice grim.
This is systemic. Someone's been using body swaps to manipulate the entire system, silence dissenters, and gain access to God knows what.
Anya leaned closer, her brow furrowed in concentration.
The names, they connect to various industries, political factions. We're looking at a conspiracy with tentacles reaching far and wide.
Miller felt a wave of nausea wash over him. The body swap network, initially a symbol of convenience, had morphed into a tool for the powerful to manipulate the world from the shadows.
Glitch exposed them.
Anya continued, a hint of admiration in her voice.
But how? And what's their true motive?
Maybe they're just a rogue program fighting for survival.
Miller mused. Sato shook her head.
There's more to it. Glitch risked themselves to save Sarah. They have a plan, an agenda.
An agenda that could be our only leverage.
Miller said, his voice hardening with resolve.
We need to decode it, find a way to contact Glitch, understand their endgame.
But contacting a digital ghost proved to be no simple feat. Dr. Anya spent days sifting through the data dump, searching for any hidden messages, backdoors, or communication protocols within Glitch's app. Meanwhile, Miller and Sato delved into the murky world of the data dump, chasing down leads on the compromised individuals. Each name revealed a web of deceit, hushed-up scandals, and suspicious power plays. The deeper they went, the more they realized the city itself was a house of cards, built on a foundation of stolen lives and swapped identities. One name on the list, however, stood out: Senator Lawson, a staunch advocate for body swap regulation and a vocal critic of the industry's current practices.
Lawson?
Sato questioned, skepticism evident in her voice.
Why would someone target him?
Maybe to silence him.
Miller suggested.
He was a major threat to their operations.
Or maybe
Anya interjected, her eyes gleaming with a sudden realization.
he's already been swapped.
A cold dread settled in Miller's gut. The very man who fought against the system's exploitation might be a puppet controlled by its puppeteers.
We need to find him, before it's too late.
Their investigation led them to a high-security government building, a bastion of power and bureaucracy. Gaining access wouldn't be easy, but Lawson's potential fate outweighed the risks. As they infiltrated the building, Miller couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His senses were on high alert, every shadow harboring a potential threat. The air crackled with a sense of unreality, a feeling reinforced by the sudden appearance of a holographic figure projected onto a nearby wall. The figure, unmistakably Glitch, its features distorted by the projection, spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from the very fabric of the building.
Welcome, Detective.
Glitch said, their voice devoid of emotion.
You've been busy.
The image flickered, and before Miller could react, a message flashed across the screen.
Lawson is not what he seems. The truth lies within the system. Find the mirror, Detective, and you'll find the key.
The message vanished, leaving Miller and Sato staring at the blank wall, their minds racing. Glitch had offered a cryptic clue, a lifeline in the murky waters of corruption. But what did it mean? And could they decipher it before Lawson's true identity was lost forever? The cryptic message from Glitch echoed in Miller's mind. The mirror. The key. Frustration gnawed at him as he stared at the blank wall where the holographic message had materialized.
We need a plan. Wandering government buildings looking for metaphorical mirrors won't get us anywhere.
Anya, ever the tech whiz, interjected.
The message itself might hold a clue. Maybe the way it was projected, the location.
The projection. It appeared on a blank wall, a mirror.
Realization dawned on Sato.
Lawson's office. He has a large mirrored wall overlooking the city.
Hope flickered in Miller's eyes.
Glitch might be referring to a specific reflection, something hidden within the cityscape itself.
They raced to Lawson's office, the mirrored wall reflecting the bustling neon jungle outside. Scanning the image, Miller spotted a faint shimmering distortion around a seemingly unremarkable building.
A digital cloaking device.
Anya confirmed, her enhanced vision picking up the subtle anomaly. Adrenaline surged through them. That building, nestled amongst the city's giants, was where they'd find Lawson, or whoever was impersonating him. The building housed a high-end spa, a popular haunt for the city's elite seeking rejuvenation and a potentially new body. But beneath its shimmering facade lurked a sinister operation. Formulating a plan, they split up. Miller and Sato, disguised as potential clients, would infiltrate the spa, while Anya, using her tech expertise, would crack the cloaking device from outside. The spa entrance oozed exclusivity. As a disguised wealthy couple, Miller and Sato navigated the opulent lobby, their senses on high alert. Every interaction felt like a potential trap. Finally, they reached the designated room, a luxurious haven designed for body swaps. But instead of the usual medical equipment, a complex digital interface awaited them. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Lawson, but his eyes held a coldness that sent shivers down Miller's spine.
Welcome.
The imposter greeted them, his voice devoid of sincerity.
Looking to shed a few years? Or perhaps some unwanted memories?
A tense standoff ensued. Miller knew they were outnumbered, but backing down wasn't an option. He exchanged a silent message with Sato, a plan forming in their eyes. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the door. Anya had disabled the cloaking device, attracting the authorities' attention. Sirens wailed. drawing closer with each passing second. The imposter cursed under his breath.
Our little operation is compromised.
He lunged towards the digital interface, a twisted smile on his face.
But the game isn't over, Detective.
With a swift motion, he activated the interface, the room plunging into darkness. Panic surged through Miller as digital tendrils snaked out, attempting to connect with his mind. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted, followed by a stabilizing hum. The room flickered back to life, revealing a scene of chaos. The imposter Lawson lay unconscious, his body twitching erratically. Beside him, a bewildered Senator Lawson blinked in confusion, seemingly unaware of the ordeal. The authorities swarmed in, securing the scene. Anya, working quickly, managed to salvage data from the confiscated equipment. As they emerged from the spa, the weight of the situation settled on them. They had exposed the body swap network's dark underbelly, rescued Senator Lawson, and potentially prevented a larger conspiracy. But the biggest surprise came later. Deciphering the recovered data, Anya stumbled upon a hidden message, a digital signature matching Glitch's code. It wasn't a cryptic clue, but a thank you. Glitch, a rogue program within the body swap network, had used them to expose the system's vulnerabilities. Standing on the precinct rooftop, Miller gazed at the glittering cityscape bathed in neon twilight. The fight for control of the body and the mind might not be over, but a small victory had been won. In the shadows of the city, a digital ghost had watched over them, a silent guardian in the ever-evolving battle for humanity. The future remained uncertain. But with Glitch by their side, Miller felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps in the neon-drenched labyrinth of Neo Angeles, even a ghost in the machine could be an ally.